Not too long ago, it wasn't uncommon to see a smartphone with a full QWERTY keyboard. In fact, keyboards used to be a dominant feature, which have become all too uncommon these days. In 2017, we only have one notable Android smartphone with a keyboard, the new BlackBerry KEYone, a modern Android smartphone which brings back BlackBerry's iconic keyboard. As an Android smartphone, the KEYone is a bit of an oddball. It sports a mid-range Qualcomm Snapdragon 625 chip, a 1620 by 1080p IPS LCD display, and a 3,505 mAh battery. Despite selling for $550, the phone's performance isn't anywhere near the top flagship devices from 2017. What you're paying for is the BlackBerry name, the physical keyboard, and incredible battery life. As you'd expect, the BlackBerry is accompanied with a design that's different than anything else on the market. If you want a phone that looks and feels like a tool, this is it. It has a metal frame, a soft-touch rubber panel on the back for a secure and comfortable grip, a large metal ring around the camera, and of course BlackBerry's signature QWERTY keyboard up front. It's solid and heavy, while most other smartphones these days feel light and pretty fragile. That being said, the KEYone is still elegant, with a style which will fit in perfectly on a desk in a corporate boardroom. And when you consider the keyboard, that's exactly the clientele that the KEYone is geared towards. People who don't need the frills and flashy designs of flagship phones. This phone's meant for people who just want to get work done. The keyboard may look similar to the BlackBerry keyboards of old, but it does have a few hidden tricks. The Space Key doubles as a fingerprint scanner, and the whole keyboard is capacitive as well, turning it into a huge trackpad. You can swipe your finger on it to scroll through content, use it to navigate through text messages that you've typed, and even select autocomplete suggestions. And if that wasn't enough, you can assign app shortcuts to nearly every key on the keyboard as well. From a concept standpoint, the keyboard sounds pretty amazing, but I have issues with the spacing of the keys. It's just too cramped for my typing style. I was a huge fan of the original G1 and even owned the G2, but the keyboards on those phones stretch the full height of the device, giving you a lot more room to work with. But that's not to say that the keyboard is bad, it's just not for me. If you were used to the BlackBerry keyboard in the past, you'll likely feel right at home with the KEYone in hand. For me, the most exciting thing about this phone is the battery life. Coupling the Snapdragon 625 processor with a 3,505 mAh battery was an incredible decision. The phone has just enough power to work on documents, blasting out emails, and playing occasional games, but its low power consumption allows the massive battery to keep the phone running for hours on end. As much as I tried, I wasn't able to kill the battery in a single day, even going 15 hours off the charger with more than 6 hours of screen on time. And if you treat it well, you can actually take this to 2 full days without needing a charge. The 4:3 aspect ratio of the screen looks a little bit out of place since 16:9 displays are the norm and 18:9 is becoming more common, but it works perfectly fine. It's bright enough to be used outdoors, and viewing angles aren't bad either. Just don't expect the best experience if you're planning on watching back video from time to time. The software package of the KEYone is a little bit different than what you get on most Android devices, mainly because BlackBerry has crammed in a suite of security and productivity apps, which they claim make the phone a lot more secure than other Android devices. The device is encrypted by default, so you shouldn't have to worry about someone snooping on your content, but that's really not an issue that most other Android phones have. And then there's the BlackBerry Hub, which merges all your emails, call logs, and text messages into a unified view. It's supposed to make you more productive, but I found it just to be a cluttered mess. Now, you might not have expected this, but this phone also comes with a decent camera on the back, and it's not just for snapping pictures at those corporate events or holiday parties. The phone has the same camera as the Google Pixel with an f2.0 lens. You don't get Google's fancy HDR Plus mode, but the shots are pretty amazing when you're taking pictures in daylight, and you can get some decent low light shots as well, as long as you have a steady hand. I have a gallery of full resolution shots linked in the description if you want to take a peek. While the camera is pretty decent, in the end, there's really only 2 reasons why you should consider buying the BlackBerry KEYone. If battery life is your #1 smartphone priority, or if you used to use a BlackBerry device and have been longing for an Android smartphone with a proper keyboard. If neither of those describes you, you'll be better served by pretty much any other Android smartphone in the $500 to $600 range. Let me know what your take is on the BlackBerry KEYone in the comments. Is this smartphone exactly what you've been waiting for, or do you think that BlackBerry needs to revamp its strategy if it really wants to get back into the smartphone game? If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up. You can follow me on Twitter at NickMGray, and make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. Thanks for watching.